Welcome back, friends, in the continuity with the previous class in which we have studied about the casework client relationship, and we have covered certain topics in that class, like who is a caseworker and a client, then what is a counseling, then general features of the worker client relationship. Today, we'll take up the leftover points, purpose of the relationship, principles in relationship, and a case study so that the concept of the casework relationship becomes quite easy. So let's start with the first point, and that is there are certain points which must be remembered in casework relationship. These are casework relationship is temporary, emotional component is not so deep and penetrating. In relationship, caseworker is a helping person while the client is one who is actually receiving the help. Client is helped to help himself. Caseworkers generally do not have legal authority. Last but not the least, casework services are directed to environmental changes and to personality problems on the conscious level. See, these points are just similar to the principles of the casework relationship that we will cover in the coming slides. So no need to get confused. These actually becomes the points or the features which are very much important in the terms of doing the practicals in casework. Okay, so these are the we can say that these are the certain limitations or certain foundations which keep the caseworker in check. So these points become important in the relationship. Now let's move forward and we'll see that what is the purpose of worker-client relationship. The very first purpose of the worker-client relationship is to create an environment, is to create an atmosphere where the client who is in problem is able to express himself or herself freely. The next purpose is the development of personality. In worker-client relationship, an effort is being made by the caseworker in the development of the personality of the client. Next is better solution of client's problems. See, any person in problem would at the first level would try to solve at his own level. But when he fails with himself and with his surroundings, then only he will be approaching some third person for solutions. So here also the caseworker gives better solutions, figure out better solutions for the client's problem so that in future also if he faces any sort of problem he is able to solve himself. And this is the main objective or the aim of the social work. Next is the means for carrying out functions. Worker-client relationship also serves as a means for carrying out different functions related to the client's problem and how to solve it in a better way. Next is the stating and focusing on reality and emotional problems. Last but not the least, helping the client make a more acceptable adjustment to the personal problem. Here the main purpose of the relationship is to build a personality in the client that with that personality he is able to cope up with the surroundings. He is able to cope up with his own problems and he is able to solve them at his own level. Moreover, in some cases, the relationship is the principal form of treatment, while we can say that in others, the relationship is an aid to treatment. So there could be both general and the specific purposes. Now let's move on, and in this slide I have mentioned about the principles in the worker-client relationship. These principles, or we can say the features or the qualities, are of very much importance so that we are able to solve the client's problem efficiently. With these principles in practice, the caseworker is able to solve the client's problem in an efficient way. So, What are the principles in relationship? Individualization, acceptance, controlled emotional involvement, non-judgmental attitude, confidentiality, client's self-determination, and the purposeful expression of feelings. These are not the end in itself. You can even quote other principles which you have found in different books by the different writers. So you are always welcome to include those principles also. And these principles has been described in detail in the classes, earlier classes, and to have the view of the detailed principles in the relationship, you can just visit those classes and go through it, and you will be able to understand all these principles in detail there. Now, in these principles or say qualities, both the caseworker and the client are involved. Thus, the relationship becomes a channel of the entire casework process, and through it flows the mobilization of the capacities of the individual, the mobilization of community resources, and the skills in interviewing, study, diagnosis, and treatment. The relationship has been called the soul of casework, while the processes of studying, of diagnosing the problem, and of the treatment have been called the body. And in the relationship, the interaction is generally internal, and the energy consists of feelings and attitudes, or the words and the actions. Now, this thing makes casework a living and a warmly human experience. We can even say that a good relationship is necessary. Why it is necessary? It is not necessary for perfection, but it is also necessary for the essence of the casework service in each and every settings. A good relationship is always based upon the philosophy of life, which is both realistic and idealistic, which encompasses matter and spirit, reason and faith, time and eternity. Now, I would like to sum up the class with a case study so that the sole criteria of having this class about the worker-client relationship is very well understandable to everyone. Fine. So now let's take up a simple illustration or a case study that Janardhan, who was around 30 or 35 years of age, was an industrial worker and he was living in a slum. He actually lost an arm in an accident which happened in the industry. So he was admitted to the hospital, but after discharge, he was actually referred to a caseworker of his locality. Now, caseworker arranged for client's vocational training. Meanwhile, something bad happened and his wife died, and his 5 years old child was placed in a foster home with casework's help. Now, after training, what happened? He couldn't get the job. So, being frustrated out of his own circumstances, he started taking alcohol as a means of his livelihood. Now, here also, caseworker encouraged him to view life positively and have hope, as there is always another way. Subsequently, Janardhan decided to put up a vegetable stall, and here also, caseworker helped him to get the license by approaching the related officials. Lastly, with the help of a caseworker, Janardhan succeeded in putting up a vegetable stall. Now, in this case study, the caseworker has entered more than one area of Janardhan's life, and he has helped the client in all the possible ways he can. Here, the worker-client relationship has fulfilled the purpose of relationship. Caseworker helped the client through various phases, serving as a friend, as an elderly brother or a person, as a helping agent, or we can even say as a positive force, just to dwell the client's energy towards positive direction, and as a person to serve humanity. So in this way, the caseworker succeeded in re-establishing his client towards a good future. I think this simple explanation would have made the concept of client caseworker relationship, or we can even say casework relationship. Go through both the videos and get the notes along with the description in simple language. By the time, do take care of yourself and of the nature around. We meet soon. Thank you.